Hey, welcome back to the channel. The 49ers fire Steve Wilks as their defensive coordinator last week. If you haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe down below. Be greatly appreciated. So last week it broke that the 49ers fired Steve Wilks as their defensive coordinator. And everyone in the national media is like, oh, Shanahan's using this as a scapegoat as to why they lost the Super Bowl because of him. It wasn't because of the offense, he's trying to say. Excuse me? If you paid attention to the 49ers this year, which, let's be honest, it doesn't seem like they did because of everything they kept saying about Brock Purdy, but let's forget about that. He didn't like what Steve Wilks was doing. The 49ers, they weren't happy with him from the middle of the year and on. If you don't recall, they moved him from the booth to the field because they didn't like what he was doing. He was lucky he wasn't fired at that time. So it's not like, oh, they fired him because of he had a good Super Bowl. They held the Chiefs to 19 points in the regulation. Okay. But people are acting like this was a high-powered Chiefs team. This is not the high-powered offensive Chiefs team from years past. Just last year, they were averaging 29.2 points a game. Okay. That's good if you would have held them to 19 this year. But this year, they're only averaging 21.8. So, honestly, at the end of regulation, the defense held them to their average score. So, it sounded like he was doing this awesome job. And let's be honest, if you watch their defense towards the end of the year, they had some good games, yes. But for the most part, their defense was bad. I mean, look at the playoffs. The Packers just tore them up. The Lions tore them up. There was multiple times where it was like, this defense, how do you take such a great defense, especially against the run, and then all of a sudden they just fall off? It was like, oh no. Like, I swear, if the Lions would have just ran the ball in the NFC Championship game, they would have won easy. All they had to do was run. But they decided to try to pass, and the 49ers were finally able to stop them. But it's not like you could see this coming. Like, could you not? I mean, there were multiple times when you can tell Shanahan was not happy. The Vikings game, for example, almost halftime, he calls an all-out blitz and gives up a touchdown. Like, what are you doing? Like, don't call a blitz. Call prevent, as they say, though, prevents you from winning. But keep everyone in front of you. There's no reason to call a blitz. Calls a blitz and goes for a 70-yard touchdown to end the half. Like, what are you doing? And then you can tell even in the Super Bowl, Shanahan wasn't happy with them. He had to call a timeout multiple times when they were on defense because he didn't like the alignment. So you can't tell me that Shanahan's using him as a scapegoat. He just he wasn't happy with what he was doing on the defensive end. Now comes the question, who are they going to get as a replacement for a defensive coordinator? There's been a couple names that have been thrown out there. One of the more popular ones, Mike Vrabel. That's an interesting one. He doesn't have a coaching job, which is kind of surprising, but it is what it is. So he's one of the more popular names out there. One not a dark horse, but one that's kind of floating around is Bill Belichick. But I don't see Belichick taking a defensive coordinator job over a head coaching job. If he couldn't get a head coaching job, I don't see him lowering his standards to the defensive coordinator. One name to keep an eye on is Daniel Bullocks, who's been with the organization for 7 years. And if you recall when Shanahan said he's looking for someone with familiarity, can't say that word, to the defense that they already run. So that right there, he's been with the team for 7 years. The players know him. Shanahan knows him. That's one guy to keep an eye out. If he already has chemistry with this team, look for Daniel Bullocks to be the defensive coordinator. Because I'm thinking they probably want to stay in-house. They don't want to go get someone who's not part of the organization. So I think that would be one of the bigger that should be the leader in the candidate situation for the Niners defensive coordinator. Because like I said, he said he wants someone familiar with the schemes that they already run. So this guy's been with the team for 7 years. So I think that's one guy to keep your eye on. like I said, Vrabel, he's a main guy everyone's talking about just because he's a defensive guy. He doesn't have a job right now. Maybe he takes this as a one-year thing to get his resume back up, and then maybe next year becomes a head coach. Niners seem to always lose their defensive coordinators, the head coaches. I mean, maybe they just hire someone like Vrabel. Saleh goes out next year, gets fired because the Jets suck, and the Niners bring him back as a defensive coordinator. I doubt it, but hey, we can wish, right? So let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think the Niners will get Vrabel? Belichick? Who do you think the Niners should get as their defensive coordinator? How do you feel like their defense played in the Super Bowl? I feel like they stepped up. They did a lot better than they had done in the playoffs. But when they needed a stop, they could not get the stop at all. Like, they needed those last two possessions. Get a stop. Could not do it. Wouldn't do it. Mahomes just ate them up like it was lunch. It was not good. So let me know down below. Who do you think the Niners should get as their defensive coordinator? If you haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe. See you on the other side.